more on Halo Talks. I have the pleasure of having Gunjan, who is the Chief Digital Officer and Chief Product Officer for Walgreens Boots Alliance with me. We are both fellow Harvard Business School alums from 1999. So several years later, we get reconnected and are on somewhat opposite, but I think going to be on the same side of the health and fitness industry as the years progress here. So Gunjan, thanks for being on and representing Walgreens, which has always been kind of coveted by the fitness industry as somebody that we'd want to have a closer relationship with, and not just, well, you guys are on the retail side and we're on the exercise side, and keep doing your thing, we'll keep doing our thing. I feel like there's time. Part of it's probably digital, probably part of it's convenience, probably it's because our missions are now somewhat converging even more closely than they were before, but to help people get them to feel better in a holistic way without having to get on any kind of blood thinners or diabetes drugs. So we're both on the preventative health side. So do you want to just take a couple minutes, take people through your personal background, and then we can talk about where Walgreens is headed and what the health club and fitness studio operators that we work with, what they could expect and what they should think about Walgreens, maybe redefine how they view, your company's initiatives and presence.
Sure, great. Thank you for having me, Pete. I think it's great to be on the podcast. Yes, so I have been in what I call just consumer services and innovation business for 25 years of my career, and I've always relished the opportunity of using technology, physical space, and retail space, mobile apps, whatever tools I have to create innovation for making our lives better. I am a consumer-backed, customer-backed person first, and I truly think we are living in a time where, because of digital and mobile and technology, the amount of opportunity ahead of us is enormous. I mean, I spent most of my career in what I call digital media and entertainment, video, companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and so forth, and most recently at Disney. But one thing I noticed about a year or two ago is, as you look at our lives over the last 20 years in terms of how we shop, how we travel, how we communicate with friends, how we order food, and so forth, how much those parts of our lives have changed over the last 20 years. So just, you couldn't imagine, living without, ordering transportation or food or shopping online. And then we look at, healthcare, fitness, taking care of ourselves, something that's so personal, something that's so incredibly important to all of us. And that's something all of us have to encounter, whether we like it or not, every day. And yet the amount of innovation in those areas, if you look at it, has not been that much. Our lives, we still, do pretty much the same thing we were doing 20, 30 years ago in terms of taking care of ourselves, whether it's making a medical appointment or dealing with insurance or fitness and so forth. So, which is what really attracted me, that here, is something that all of us need. And there's this tremendous potential provided by retail revolution and technology, and yet the progress hasn't been much, which is really what attracted me to a company that's committed to wellness and health and fitness of consumers, which is what led me to come to Walgreens Boots Alliance. And we are a global company with 400,000 people and locations presence in 25 countries. So it's just the amount of, even in the US, millions of customers pass through a Walgreens store every day. So the opportunity and to just serve the needs of the customers was enormous, and that's what brought me here. Right. And and to your second question about, I think what we define ourselves as, most people think of us as pharmacy and retail. We really have defined ourselves for over 100 years as in being in the business of taking care of people, and taking care of people has at least three components. We're adding more, but at least three components, which is taking care of your healthcare, just your medicine, dispensing medicine, whatever you need as a pharmacy, providing advisory and care and services outside of that in terms of over-the-counter medicine, other wellness, other tools and services for you to take care of your health preventively. And the third one is beauty. We have always been in the business of making you feel better. So it's just not taking care of you, but I think feeling and looking better is an important part of feeling better, wellness. And I think, as you can imagine, the natural extension of that is how can we be even more holistic in taking care of your health, and fitness, wellness is a big part of it. I mean, historically, we have expanded into other areas of care like delivering lab services, flu vaccinations, and even advisory doctor. We've experimented with services in some part of our store chain where a doctor is on site, for example. So I think we are very committed to using our store footprint and our connection with our consumers to improve their health, the entire journey, and making them well. We, at this point, and then the second area, as we were talking about earlier, we're looking at is the digital health, because I truly believe, I mean, as coming from the world of digital technology, we are really at the cusp of this revolution, which is digital technology, whether it's wearables or other connected services and ECG and all that you have, to truly advance and proliferate the idea of everyone being able to have greater fitness and more conveniently be able to take care of their health and wellness and fitness in their home or in their work, wherever they are. And I'm sure, as the host of this podcast, you have come across really, a lot of the innovations that we've seen in the personal fitness space. And so we see as Walgreens also an opportunity for us to help our customers with everything related to using those tools, advisory services, value additions, or subscription management, everything related to how you can use these revolutionary technologies, devices, gadgets to help with your fitness and wellness in a convenient manner.
So how do you think about, historically, there's kind of been, the health clubs and yoga studios and gym studios, and everyone's kind of been running down, almost like if there was like a 4-lane highway. I feel like, the Walgreens and some of your competitors have kind of been in here's the 4 walls, here's the convenience, here's the products, and the health club industry has kind of been driving down a parallel path, but there's never really been any convergence or any collaboration between the two. One, I guess, is, from your historical view, why do you think these companies have not found any touch points yet? And internally, do you see any future collaboration? Because obviously we've got data of how many times people check in, what kind of workout they're on, what their personal health stats are. They've got a personal trainer. They take a lot of vitamin supplements, so on and so forth. So does that kind of calibrate into, how do we get these people that are within a 2 to 3 mile radius? What health clubs are nearby, or what studios, and how do we collaborate or work together or share data or do co-marketing? Do you think that's kind of a wave that's coming down?
Yeah, no, I think let me come back to the data piece, because that's always an interesting and a separate conversation on its own. But in terms of the value proposition to the customer, you're spot on. I think there is absolutely no reason why, as a holistic way to take care of a customer and giving them a seamless opportunity, to offer a single digital destination for them to take care of themselves in terms of whether it's scheduling a class or getting, I don't know, supplements or other, information related to if I'm doing this kind of exercise routine, what else do I need to do to take care of advisory services, consolidating my schedule, and then even the fitness club or the gym partnering with the Walgreens to create a more personalized offering, personalized class. So this person is in this medication. They should probably be, doing this for 20 minutes instead of 40 minutes, or do a different activity, different exercise, and so forth. So I think that's definitely an opportunity that we can partner with a fitness club or a yoga studio.
How are you kind of pivoting? Because I think this would be helpful for our audience to understand. Walgreens typically, at least from a consumer standpoint, is a place that you go. And are you viewing like my health information and my digital is not going to be a separate branded app, but you'll actually have a Walgreens app, and you're saying, look, I own the customer and I'm going to be the platform of record? Or is it like, if you have a Fitbit, or if you have a iPhone, like whatever you're doing there, we'll pull that data into the Walgreen app? Or are you saying like, hey, look, I am like your system, your mission critical system, and I am your database? How do you think about that?
Well, I think both ways are possible, and really, as I was saying earlier about, it comes down to consumer trust. I think fundamentally, as I don't know at what point our connection dropped off, but in this business, one thing I've realized, even despite being in the technology field, consumer technology for 25 years, is data and trust, and when it comes to health and wellness, are so important that who is the company owning my data, and what are they going to do with it, is a fundamental question, even more important than the customer experience, the value proposition, the product, and all the usual things. So I think that's going to be a key factor in terms of whether, for a particular experience, is the customer more willing to place their trust in Walgreens or some other company that. And I honestly don't know, but in terms of so that will be the factor that will inform that decision. But in terms of our strategy as it exists today, we do have one Walgreens app, and we offer multitude of services. In fact, we offer a service called Find Care, which is about finding providers of digital and physical healthcare, and at your local Walgreens or even in the local area. And that service has been is featured inside our Walgreens app, the same app that you would manage your prescriptions and manage your photos and so forth. And we have seen very good reception that way. But I think, I honestly think, and I'm sure in your area, for example, even what Apple's trying to do with Apple Health, where there is, customers are choosing in certain cases to place their data with the Fitbits and Omrons and other companies at the same time, while placing some of their data in Apple Health directly, and then becoming that central place for health. So I really think it's unclear, and and especially once you get into really personal HIPAA healthcare data, then there are even regulatory aspects which create a different complexity to the whole thing.
Gotcha. So, I think, I'm in New York, and, I feel like sometimes I'm tainted by thinking that everyone has picked their app of choice. And I go into the rest of the country, and I sometimes see that people don't even know some of the brands or some of the apps that we use. So
right.
Like when you look at, if we have a health club chain in, the middle of the country, I don't assume anymore that they know what Soul Cycle or Barry's Boot Camp or CrossFit are even. So when you look at Walgreens, and this is probably akin to how some of our health club operators think, is that like, look, I'm not behind. I haven't ceded any ground. I just, I'm going to be kind of like what the cable companies were to TiVo. Like TiVo, go and figure out how to do it and get people comfortable with it. They can record their shows, and I'm just going to add it as a DVR function. So, like, thanks for educating people, and I'll take it from here. Do you kind of feel like sometimes the world that we live in is not really the speed of the rest of the economy, and that people's have not really tied themselves to an app of choice yet, and that Walgreens kind of just is well positioned to say, okay, when I launch this and I roll it out, I'm going to get most of these people anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great way to frame it. And as somebody I was intimately involved in, I was working at Microsoft when the TiVo Comcast situation happened, and I know intimately exactly what you were talking about. TiVo had sold, I think, 500,000 DVRs over its 6 years of life, and Comcast came in and within 2 quarters sold 1 million. So I as a consumer technology innovator, I'd never be the one to say we can just wait and watch by the sidelines and then be that fast follower to just recover. I don't look at it that way. What I do believe right now is a lot of these technologies have and apps have yet found a mainstream value proposition. They are even, I think, just about. I was in a panel within a week of Fitbit going public. It was about 4 years ago, and we asked for a show of hands how many people own a Fitbit, and I think about 80% of the hands went up. It was in Silicon Valley, and then the second question was how many of you have used it on a daily basis, and I think about 10% of the hands remained up. So I think for me as a consumer products person, I look at engagement and retention much more than purchase and initial transaction, right? And have we reached a point of it becomes a habit, like the way we would consider Netflix or Uber or these services where it's become a habit. It's part of the and a mainstream vernacular and fabric of life. And I don't think any of these services yet have been that, and it's not due to their fault. I think we are at that stage where the consumers are. I mean, even look at wearables as a category. The adoption from a whole regular usage perspective is very low. So I really think in this terms of this digital health, whether it's SoulCycle or even Peloton, we have seen early successes, and which is great. More power to them. But I really think we have yet to find that fit, that product market fit, where literally 30, 40, 50% of the American population is using something on a daily, weekly basis, and really it's woven into their fabric. So I think that's what I am looking for. And no, we're not going to sit down and sit by the sideline till somebody educates the market. We are looking at mostly consumer behavior and seeing what is really the compelling need and value proposition that people are gravitating to, and where we need to be a part of that.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. So if, let's say the largest health club chain in the U.S. or a large health club chain came to Walgreens and said, look, I want to figure out a way to do something here where I'm either transferring, with the consent of the members, obviously, their exercise regimen and have Walgreens as a partner. It sounds like from a standpoint of where you're headed, like those conversations aren't years away. That's potentially like something that could be on point here sooner than later.
Absolutely. No, definitely. I mean, in fact, I mean, I would even encourage that discussion today because, that's our wellness strategy is exactly that. It just partner, you probably have seen a press release maybe 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, actually. We partnered with Jenny Craig. We are experimenting that with, I believe it was 100 or so stores where they would set up, their services, offering products and everything as part of the same. And that discussion, that outcome started with a discussion a few months ago. So what you're saying is right. I mean, it's very imminent and very relevant today.
That's great. That's great. So from a standpoint of, for people to kind of view Walgreens, this isn't like just the traditional drugstore, and that digital is becoming more and more a part of the initiative internally. What are some of the cultural changes that you've had to try to implement or get people through? Because in the health club industry, as an example, where a lot of our listener base is, we're on average pretty slow to adopt new technologies, and sometimes we kind of hope some of them just go away so we don't have to figure them out. So how have you been able to educate and kind of reframe the conversation that we're not really in the transactional, receipt business. Like this isn't this isn't just about selling products. Like how have, maybe just kind of touch on for a minute of how you've gone in and, kind of changed the narrative. If you could do that for, in a short period of time, take up your entire, philosophy or mission.
Yeah, no, I think that you said is a key question, but I think that this is one of those leadership things where there is no silver bullet. You just keep evangelizing and championing the mission and the cause, why you're doing what you're doing. And I think I've been saying this I do a lot of speaking on retail transformation and e-commerce. And one of the things I'm very fond of saying is retail used to be a transaction business. Now it's a relationship business. And that means is you look at the customer as a lifetime value, so I'm not trying to maximize my profit from you on one transaction today, but what you do with me over the course of 2 years or 3 years. And you define that metric, you actually assign people's incentives and focus and product strategies around that long-term value metric instead of just spending your time with merchandise mix and gross profit margins on those things, which a typical retailer does. So I think that's what I am, having my experience of doing exactly that with Amazon Prime, where you really change not just the mentality, but also the actual economics of the business in a long-term relationship, a lifetime value business. And so I think that's been my my approach. But like I said, there is not a brilliant strategic insight that you have one PowerPoint presentation and everyone suddenly sees the light. It's one of those things where I've been in the change management business that you just do this on a blocking and tackling, inching away everyday business, and they shift an organization of our size. But it's great, I think. But you need to find a common language. I think you need to find something that people are already gravitating to. And in our case, it's the customer. There is the aspect of customer relationship and service and personal service, human touch is so part of the fabric. So you leverage that. You have to also find a connection with the core of the business. That helps.
Sure. Makes sense. All right, great. Well, we're in New York here, so we see all of our Dwayne Reed by Walgreens. So I am going to get back to you with some opportunities on partnerships in the city that's got more vertical density than anywhere else, and maybe we'll find a partnership that works that we can then talk about with the rest of the industry and get these health club operators to understand that Walgreens could be a potential digital partner or local partner, in order to monetize and make sure that all these relationships are well served and keep people from your prescription section would be the plan.
That's well said, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Pete.
Excellent. All right. Thanks for your time, Gunjan. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.